The future. It's always there, it's always coming, and it always arrives. As long as humans have existed, we have looked to the future and wondered, what comes next? In terms of movies, films set in the future have been made since the media was born, with films such as Metropolis seeking to predict what would await us in the coming years. The depictions of the future in media take us to a world foreign but also familiar to our own, and can range from optimistic to a darker, more pessimistic tone. In the following video, I will talk about the later, having long been interested in the dark and cynical viewpoints of what the future may bring. I will do this by taking a few personal favourites of the genre and using them as case studies. My interest in the post-apocalyptic, dystopian genre began when I watched Mad Max for the first time. I was really taken in by the world that was on the brink of total social and economic collapse, and despite the fact that most of the iconic imagery and thematic ideas that have come to become part of the Mad Max franchise are not yet in the centre frame, instead being born in the various sequels that are going to follow, Mad Max still depicts an interesting dystopian world which could be plunged into all-out chaos at any moment. Max, for example, is a police officer, and he stands as one of the last few bastions left of law and order in the film. As the film progresses, the very things that make him human are slowly stripped away from him, and it becomes like the very people he's trying to stop. In Mad Max, any real sense of a lasting infrastructure is gone. There's hardly any justice, and it seems that the lunatic gangs that roam the country are beginning to take more control of the country itself than the law enforcement that goes to vehicular war with them. The character of Max is the last hope for the world, to go down another more hopeful path. But as Max eventually gives in to his rage and his anger, the film tells the audience that this was the inevitable way for things to go from the very beginning.
You're mad, man. You think I look silly, don't you? Don't bring this on me, man. Don't do this to me, please. Oh, please.
Society is now dead, and the world now belongs to the mad. Mad Max was followed by a sequel, The Road Warrior. In the time between movies, society has further collapsed, and the roads have become desolate wastelands. Travelling gangs pillage the roads, and they prey upon the weak. Max himself has become a husk of the man he formerly was, and now just tries to survive in the new world. He eventually finds himself the last hope for a gang of survivors, seeking to escape from the wasteland, and those who terrorise them, with the precious oil they've been stockpiling, in order to escape and reach a location they might be able to re-establish some form of society in.
2 days ago, I saw a vehicle that'd haul that tanker. You want to get out of here? You talk to me.
The world explored in The Road Warrior is incredibly interesting. There's hardly any form of civilization or order left at all. The world is dying, and the last vestiges of nobility and honour are slowly being eliminated from the world. Also, pretty much everyone, yes, even the good guys, is now a lunatic.
Max, buy a ticket for 2,000 miles.
You have to come, Sonny. This is where we're going. Paradise. 2,000 miles from here. Fresh water, plenty of sunshine, nothing to do.
Part of me that thinks the main driving force for Max deciding to drive the war rig at the end of the film is simply because the Raider gang blew up his car and killed his dog.
You done fucked up now!
The creator and director of the Mad Max franchise, George Miller, expertly explores ideas of loss, despair, and death itself in each of the 4 Mad Max movies in very interesting ways. It takes the idea of the wandering noble protagonist and shapes it into something else. Max in many ways is drawn to the conflict of others. He's always reluctant to at first, but the embers of his previous life as a cop always drag him back into helping those he comes across, whether he wants to or not. Another film I want to study is that of Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers, a quietly terrifying film in which the entirety of the human population has been turned into that of a fascist society that only excels at one thing: killing. Verhoeven is perhaps the king of dystopian satire. If you look at his filmography, it's a very distinct and obviously recurring theme that he explores in a gleefully violent fashion, but always with a truly satirical edge. In Starship Troopers, thousands of young men and women are enlisted in one form of a military force or the other, given very quick and basic training, and then thrown into a meat grinder against a seemingly unending force of enemy bugs that, for all intents and purposes, are just protecting their territory from the invading human forces. The characters are thrown into this meat grinder don't really have any moment in which they think, why the hell are we doing this? They've been so drawn into the idea of fighting the bugs by the propaganda and society that surrounds them, that they kind of do it, well, just to do it.
Infantry rules! Yeah! Oh, God, that hurts!
Hey, well, I got something that might hurt just a little bit more.
Oh, yeah! We're gonna fight! And we're gonna win! Yeah!
There are multiple moments of satire in Troopers that expertly show just how pathetic and useless this potential future is, or the adult generation that is shown in society to be someone worthy of respect and admiration, as one deformity of injury causing some conflict in the past.
Infantry, sir.
Good for you. Mobile infantry made me the man I am today.
The film's violent over-the-top nature is brushed off by the characters as just another day on the job. They'll continue fighting into tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after, until they themselves are finally killed, injured, or finally gifted the supposed main goal of their warring with the creatures, to be rewarded with citizenship. For the dystopian genre, we often reflect on the world that we inhabit today. Films like Starship Troopers expertly analyse a shoot first, ask questions later mindset, in a way that both thrills and disturbs the audience. If you haven't seen the film, I truly recommend it. Despite the dark and foreboding nature of the horror dystopian genre, there are some examples that can surprise you with their uplifting weapons. Take for instance the classic zombie film Dawn of the Dead, a masterpiece by the father of the zombie genre as we know it today, George Romero. The film depicts the collapse and destruction of society under the threat of the zombie apocalypse, showing humanity at both its worst and at its best. The female protagonist, Fran, rises to the challenge and becomes a capable warrior and survivor in the post-apocalyptic world. She finds a new purpose and learns to cope and thrive, while other members of her group, take for example Roger, a former SWAT member, slowly loses composure as the days go by. For the example of Fran, we get the sense that those who will ultimately defeat the odds and not join the ranks of the dead, and might be able to live as close to a fulfilling life as possible, are the most unlikely. So, despite the bleakness of the genre, Dawn of the Dead gives us the idea that even in the worst possible timeline, which is filled with undead zombies, dwindling supplies, and raiders that really like trucks,
They must get in through the roof.
Son of a bitch.
I got trucks blocking all the entrances. Look at that.
Yeah, trucks.
humanity could make it in the end. Maybe. Dawn ends on an ambiguous note that could be viewed as both a happy and downright depressing ending. It just depends on how you look at it, really. The dystopian genre will continue to be explored. There's a new Mad Max film coming out next year, for example, and on the screen I have some examples of films I really do like in the genre. I will continue to explore said genre, for to me it would always be fresh and exciting, and I want to continue to be lost in the many worlds it offers, and the ways that they explore the very meaning as to what it means to be human. Hi, thanks for watching. Did you enjoy the review? If so, please like and subscribe. It'll help the channel to grow. I hope to see you watching another video again sometime soon. Thanks again.